went ahead and painted his shirt white because I'll be able to paint over that real easy. And then got under the brim of the hat so that if I need to touch up with the face, I can. And in all the pictures I've seen, he's actually wearing black gloves. Now, I did not get the gray quite as dark as I wanted, so I may add just a little more black to it because you can really see how much the black stands out. We'll see, because when I do a wash on it, it'll look even better. But I'm going to do the coat in that dark gray, and then the gloves, the belt, and the boots in the black. So he's going to be mostly monotone. That's why all the pictures I saw were like that, and that's why I wanted to do, instead of straight black, a little gray. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. So I went back and added some black to the gray just to make it darker, and you can see the tie is in a black, and the stripe, little felt on the hat. So show you the difference here. Get some black out of the cap there. This black leather, I think is going to look pretty good and stand out and contrast really well with. He's got a little bit of pant leg showing up under that trench coat. I'll go ahead and do it in black as well. If somebody looks close, they'll see the pants. If not, they'll just see some more of those high tall boots. Yeah, this is tricky because his trench coat goes so low. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. See how that looks. You can really see it. Yeah, it stands out good. Let's get the gloves. And I think that once I do the wash on the coat, it will look much better. It won't just be a bland gray. It won't contrast so hard. It's hard to see the black stripe on the hat. You can see it up close, and his black hair. Hard to see it on the camera. Here we go. All right. Looks pretty cool. Now he has this along the side. Don't know if it is some sort of tassel. Don't know if it's supposed to be a watch, gold chain, don't know what. And he's supposed to have glasses on. That's going to be tricky to try and do. Here's the only real close reference I have, and you can see the arm band. So I added some color to the figure by putting in the generic armband. It's about as much detail as I could get, and I went ahead and put this belt or sash, made it red just to give a little more color to stand out. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I tried to give him glasses, but it just looked like smeared eyes, and then it really messed up the face. I had to go back and repaint the face. So just gonna leave that blank as though the hat rim is down too low, you can't see. So let's look at what I've been working on since then. This is brown, and this is brown with a touch of black. It did go on a little thicker, but it is just not, the brown paint is not covering at all on these. So I'm going to let it dry, and then try a little dry brush on it, and then try a wash on it. And if it still looks this bad, I may just have to stick them in the sink and wash them back off, because that looks awful. Yeah, and I did clean them real good beforehand. It's just weird. I don't know if it's the brown paint or this model, but yeah, it's looking awful right now. We'll check back on those later. These are looking better, especially the dark one. It is dry, but it still doesn't look great. The dark one looks better. May have to go with that, or just try another coat of that. Keep you updated on how those are going. But here's the kernel stall. I tried to mix yellow with some black just to tone it down, but it just didn't work, so I had to go almost pure yellow and just thin it out. Got a yellow band on there, the hat. It has like a little metal here, so I'll just put a little red there. There's a little piece that was raised, so I just made that a metal, and then got some little epaulets or something. Then I got the little badge, and I did his hair the same color as the tan from the pouches on the last video, if you remember that. So this is what I have so far, and now I'm going to show you. Have some silver paint. So let's see if we can't just put a little right across underneath there, tiny bit, more than that. All right, wipe some off. Let's see there. Yeah, this paint is really runny. It is not wanting to stay on the brush, and then come off. Don't know if you can see it. Yeah, just a little bit. Now, doing a few buttons on his uniform is going to be really tough, but it's another figure with no eyes, so I figure, no pun intended, if I can snazz up his uniform somehow. Oops, I'm going to have to go back and paint some of that green on that bottom one. It smeared on me. There we go. Gives it just a little color. That actually shows up really well. Alright. Okay, we're going to move on and come back to those temples in a minute and see how they look. Tried the silver and it doesn't go on real well. So, made a gray. Just a nice base coat of gray. Now I'm going to touch up with silver everywhere. Put it on real thin. Give it some highlights, and then do a wash. This is 2 coats of brown. This is one coat of brown mixed with a little black, and since it is a darker color, it does cover better the green. I'm going to go ahead and leave this one. I did the rest of them like this, and you can see did a pretty good job. Got all those painted. That'll be the base coat. Got to let those dry really well. This guy is ready for a wash, and I am really happy with the way he turned out. And I meant to say the green from the uniform is actually some of the green I used on the actual soldiers from yesterday or day before, whenever I painted them from the previous video. This guy is ready for a wash and primer. And have not started on her yet. That'll be the next thing I do after I get this done. This is doing much better going over top of the gray. And it doesn't even have to be perfect because it'll just add a little more depth and character. As long as everything has a little bit of it. Put some on the fins. I'll go back later to do some of that detail work, but just rubbing it on, getting a lot of it on the brush and spreading it out, letting it go where it will. It's almost like a silver wash. And then, yeah, it's looking good. Now if you go against the grain, it's gonna really plotch it up. So just keep going with the grooves and work it in, smooth it out, and then go back and get the excess. I'm gonna try to leave the engines alone. I'm trying to leave as much of the base alone, but I did get some on it. There we go, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's looking a lot better than when I tried to paint this on top as the main coat. It just did not work. Nice and thick on the brush, and then work it around. Leave some thick in some spots, light in others. Give it some natural highlights. And I will still do a dark wash at the end, but that is looking really cool. Got to get the nose there. Here we go. Oh yeah, I like that. Bottom's not looking great. It's just hard to get to. I'll work on it some more. We'll come back and see how it looks. Here we go. I had to try and paint those on. I could not do a great job, but overall looks really good. I'm happy with it. Still haven't messed with the temples, letting them dry. I've gotten started on this. I mixed some yellow with some white, and then I'm going to go back over it and make it even lighter. It's going to be unrealistic looking almost. And I got her neck and face painted. Then I made some gray and mixed it with just a little green, because in her photo, her uniform is much lighter green color than the soldiers. I'm going to see how this looks real quick. Put some on as a test. Alright, it's going on almost gray, although in the cup it looks green. So we will have to let this dry and then see if I need to add a drop or two of green. Just to make it look a little more green. Because right now that is really looking gray. I don't know if the camera's going to show up. It does not look like it does in the... Alright. I did add a few drops of green, and it does look better. It's still not showing up the same. I guess that red plastic just makes it look a little different more when it dries, but it looks a lot better. It does look pretty cool. I added some more white to that yellow mix and went back over her hair again just to give it some highlights. It's not showing up because it's just so light and so bright, but I wanted it to be super wispy yellow looking to stand out with the white fur. And if you notice with her card, I mean, it is bright yellow. I mean, almost white. So, time to do some detail. There we are. She doesn't have a lot of color on her, but if you can see, I did manage to get her some blue eyes and some red lipstick. It's not going to show up good on camera. I just can't get it to zoom in as well as I'd like. But it did turn out pretty well. It's not blurry like it is on camera. Here we go. It's not bad. So I think I'm done with everything except for the temples, and I'm gonna hold off on those. I'm gonna let them dry even more because I want to do a dry brush. See how they do. But I think it is time to finish these up. I'm gonna start off with her, because if this doesn't do as well as I'd like, I want to dab it off because it is I want to keep that hair really light colored, just spooky looking. And of course I want to be able to see her face, so let's dab some of that off. Needs a little shadow, but not that much. There we go. That's looking good. Her figure, I had to put it into warm water again and then gently bend it and then place it so that it was bending backwards. She leans forward a whole lot, and I just did not like the way it looked. There we go. It's still a little darker than I want it, but not bad. Not bad. Everything else is looking good. And I'm afraid if I mess with much of anything else, well, there's a little bit too much on that chin. Let's see if I can. There we go. And yep, even just dabbing pulled up some of the yellow hair. So I have to repaint that real quick. Well, I could see red coming through, so that was not good. There we go. All right. we'll come back after I mess with this some. Touched up her hair just to highlight a little bit. So I put a little more paint on top of the wash, and it looks really good. And the figure looks really good overall. Happy with it. Gonna do some more washes. This is another one I'm a little curious about how it's going to do, because I really like the way it looks right now and I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to try and get the brush really thin. See how this does. I got it almost too thin because I didn't have any there at the end of the Zeppelin. And it's not bad. Let's see what a few little dabs do. On it to have that silvery shine still, and it's got too much. There we go. All right. Let's get that to show up good. It's not wanting to stay stuck. Not bad, not bad. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Grab my last two figures, got them closer, so maybe we can do this quickly. This one looks really good. I'm really pleased with the way this one looks. So dab a little more off, and then straight on. There we go. Remember, if you thin this out really good, then just brush it on real generously. And then what I usually do is just gently dab the face or any area that looks like it might have too much. If it's hiding too much detail or color. There we go. That looks really good. Got a little bit too much there on the neck, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. There we go. Oh yeah, that looks good. Now on to this one. This one is mostly gray and black, so this should really show some good contrast. I'm going to try to avoid the white shirt and do it at the end when there's less on my brush. Let's get all this other stuff. That book that he's holding has some details on it, so that's going to show up good. Let's get his hat. There we go. Down the back. There we go. That looks really cool. Now lightly touch the face and shirt. And then go back, because it still did too much for my liking. See if I can find another corner, or fold up another corner. There we go. That really added some detail to this. So these are done. 3 coats. And they've set overnight. This one, once I did the wash, it turned darker. It was more gray, but next to this one you might can see it is a lighter color than that green. And then this is gray. With a black wash, it almost turned it black. You can barely see the two-tone color in the hat, but hopefully I can get a good picture and show you those all side by side so you can see the differences. So let's look at these. I had to really cake the paint on, but it did pretty good once I did that, and I let it set overnight. And then I went ahead and tried one with a dry brush technique, and it does not look too bad at all. It's a lot less glossy. Yeah, gives a little shadow and detail, and I can still do a wash over that if I want. I'll try it on one. So I mixed up, took my brown, added some white, added like a drop of yellow and a drop of green, so a lot of yellow, a little bit of blue, just to get this tan color so it didn't look exactly flesh color. Then brush, super dry, getting the smallest amount of paint I can on the brush, and if you have to, you just lightly dab it on the paper towel and just start, okay, almost like you would a wash. Okay, and I had a little bit more on there than I wanted that time. So we'll see if we can rub some of that off. Excuse me. Dab some off and just not getting, there we go, that's a good amount. And it doesn't matter about the direction you go on this, because you want it to catch on the elevated parts so that the lighter color is on some of the edges, just to give it a little contrast. And then I'll just go across the top there and try to get a few streaks. There you go, it's that simple. So I'm going to do those, and then we'll be back and try to get a good picture of that. Got them all done, and here's the one that's brown, the pure brown, and it did pretty good. You can see it has some real character to it. You could even try light yellow or white if you want it. I even thought about painting one a gray, a good flat gray with a little white, just to try it, but we'll see how these turn out. I like them so far. This one looks pretty cool. So let's get one that I did early. It's dried real well. Got my wash. And we will go from top to bottom and see if this gets the effect I want. And if not, we'll wash it off. So here is one with just the dry brush highlights. And here's one with both the highlights and the wash. Let's see if I can get those on camera. This one's definitely darker. I'm not quite sure. We're going to let that dry but I'm thinking we may have to skip the wash since these are so dark. They're dark green, and then I did a dark brown on them. We may just have to go with the dry brush. So we'll come back to that later and see how it looks. These have dried for a while, and the one with just the dry brush does look better than this one. And it's hard to see on camera, but there is a big difference. Now here's one I did some dry brushing with white. And you can see it got a little thick in a couple spots, but it turned out pretty cool. And here is the brown one with the light tan. It doesn't show up as well, so I'll probably have to hit that with a little white. But that made me decide, yes, I wanted to try this. But first, I am going to do a little bit of a wash. All right, let's see if I can. There we go. Don't want to do too much, but I do want to get, there we go, a little bit of color and shadow onto it, because it is just a very, very flat gray. Okay, and it did go on a little thick. The white paint really seems to thicken up any paint it is mixed with. So here we go. A little bit much there, so I'll just dab it. Okay. Don't know if you can see that well. There we go. Got a few shadows in there, so we're going to let that dry. Hit that with a little white dry coat. So close this up. These little cups come in handy for that. Those washes and paints that you mix will keep for a couple days, no problem. So if you want your flesh tones to all be the same and you just run out of time. So let me hit this one here. So I get a little bit of paint, and then I'm going to dab it onto the paper towel so that the brush is really dry. And then we're going to and this is actually one that had some of the tan dry brush on it, and you can see those first few strokes are always a little thick, but that looks pretty good. I'm going to do all of them just a little different so that it's more realistic, because depending on the materials that are at hand close by when they built these pyramid temples would determine. Let's go like this. But the materials that would be at hand would determine the look of the stone, and therefore the final product. See if I can grab a little bit more off that paper towel. Yeah. And this time, instead of going left to right, I went up, and that looks pretty cool. It's a little heavy, but I like the way it turned out. And here's one of the dark brown ones with the white. And here's one of the dark brown ones with the tan. So I'm going to get several of them with different looks. Let's see if I can keep these all separated. So there's one with tan. I'll do these two. I might do these two with just a touch of yellow, or at least try one of them, see how it does. And then we'll have the gray one, and once that wash finishes drying, we'll come back and put some white on it and see how it looks. It just didn't do quite as well as I wanted. There is a light coloring to it, so that's good. A little bit of contrast. Ended up having to dab it just to help it dry a little quicker. Still not 100%, but want to give this a go and be done with the temples. And then maybe sometime next week I can start on some of the heroes. Getting some white. And then I'm going to dab it off so that the brush is almost dry. There we go. Then I want to rub the steps and the rail corners. Oh yeah. I can see this one quickly becoming the favorite that everyone will want to put on the board and play with. This is looking pretty cool. So maybe I should have painted all of them black and done some in different colors. Who knows? That looks really cool. There is a little bit of black shadows in it, and then you have the white. That's looking pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, that'll probably be everyone's favorite. And then I did a couple of the dark brown ones in yellow. It almost gives it a green tint, but next to this one you can probably see the difference. Okay, yellow, white. But I'm going to call it. Those look pretty cool. Let's get those sealed and try to get some final shots of the end product. So here are the temples done. This is the pure brown one with white. Here's some of the dark brown with white, the gray with white. Then we have the dark green with yellow. I'm sorry, dark brown with yellow, and the dark brown with the light brown. So got some variety of temples. I think they turned out really well. I'm a little sad. This one looked amazing before the clear coat, and the clear coat just kind of took away some of the detail because it had just a tiny bit of frosting on all the corner edges and then the steps and stuff. But it still looks really cool. The brown one actually turned out really well, better than I thought. It has a little bit of green showing in places, but I'm not worried about it. And then some of these have green coming through with that dark brown. Looks pretty cool. I like it. They turned out pretty well, but there you go.